How the hell did you get in here without me seeing you? And so many of you, too. This is a huge crowd of people. Yeah, brushes everywhere, paint everywhere. What am I going to do? Anyway, I'm glad you're here, and thank you for wearing masks. What I'm going to do today is tell you a little bit about what I'm about, tell you a little bit about myself, and show you a slideshow. You scared the poop out of me. Jesus. How's my acting? Oh, now that I've caught my breath, my name is Tom Kidd. I've been doing the 1632 covers for over 15 years. 1634, the Galileo affair by Eric Flint and Andrew Dennis, is the first book cover I did for the series, and I've done every one after that. My most recent cover is for 1637, The Peacock Throne by Eric Flint and Griffin Barber. Well before I began this series, I worked with Jim Bain on many books, even before there was a Bain Books, but well after there was a Jim Bain. When I first met Jim, he and Tom Dougherty had just begun Tor Books. I was a young, 110-pound, needless to say, starving artist, eager to begin my career and move up to eating 3 meals a day. Since then, I've done hundreds of book covers. I've been nominated for the Hugo Award a few times, won a few Chesley Awards, and I've won 1 World Fantasy Award. And my weight is now up to 140 pounds. Quite an improvement, right? The question today is, how do I come up with the covers I do for the 1632 series? I'd like to say my degree in history, especially the 17th century, leads my work. But I'd be lying. Although I love history, one person can't know it all. So I have to do a great deal of research for each cover. Well, let's back up. First, I read the book I'm assigned. If I have it, sometimes I don't. And that can be frightening, exciting, a chance for me to try an idea or two of my own that are often shot down. However, they do their covers. An illustrator is collaborating with an author. You're making something together. The cover art and the words inside aren't to be separated. They are a team to give the reader greater enjoyment. That's how I see it. The covers I like best are the ones that stand in my mind for years, and I can't think of them without thinking of the books, and vice versa, the story without thinking fondly of the cover. Wait, isn't a cover supposed to sell a book? You might ask. Sure, but it should also have lasting value. My other motive in doing appealing covers is my paintings aren't digital. I use oil paint to make them, and if they can stand on their own, people will buy the originals. To me, the old adage, you can't judge a book by its cover, is demeaning to book covers. It implies that a cover is meant to deceive the buyer. It's not. My role is to represent the book as best I can so that the reader gets what they expect, and I will have faith, and that reader will have faith that the future books will provide what they're looking for. Covers should be intriguing, have some mystery, be well painted, meaning they should have all the standards of composition and beauty any painting should, and tell a little bit of a story. If the cover is for a science fiction book, it should have elements that are outside your daily life. Something that makes you think, this is odd, what's going on here? It should make you want to know this so much, you have to read the book to find out. Pretty simple, right? To better understand what I mean by this, I'm going to go through my 1632 covers and kind of like diagram them for you. But before that, I'm going to show you a little bit about who I am, maybe show you some shots of my studio, that sort of thing. But This idea of diagramming a cover isn't my own. I saw someone else doing it with one of my 1632 covers. And he didn't seem to be that much of a science fiction fan. He didn't seem to know the 1632 books. He just looked at the cover and pretty much got everything right. He understood what I was trying to communicate. And I thought that was great. So I'm going to put his up. I don't know he or she, whoever did it. I don't know. But I thought it was great, and I'm going to copy that. So here we go. Get ready for my slideshow. I'm going to leave the screen, and you're going to see something hopefully more appealing than myself. Thank you. Here comes the slideshow. Hi, everyone. I'm back, but only as a still image, but a voice still over that image. And here I am in my custom-built studio. And over on the left, with the lamp on it, is where I keep my paint and other things. And on the right of the screen, on my left, is a rolling tabaret that used to be a kitchen device, but I use it for putting my paints on. And there's Gan Wilson's bust of that he did for the World Fantasy Award. That's H.P. Lovecraft there. And this studio has what are called, well, I'll get into that in the next slide. Here we go. This is the studio without me in it. And there's a big painting I'm working on there, wraparound cover for Swords and Deviltry. That is a Pfaff and Gray Mauser book. And it's not going to be part of this slideshow, because this slideshow is about my 1632 covers. Anyway, but you're getting an idea what the studio's like. There's totally tubular skylights I have there. I have various surrounding computers, printers, scanners, double doors over there, so they both open up, and you can take out and in giant paintings, and then a cheap laser printer for printing stuff for cheap. And here we go. This is the other side of the studio, the left side. There's some paintings on the wall, and there's a cover for Other Worlds, a how-to book I wrote and illustrated. But if you're going to come into my studio, first read the warnings. Do not feed the artist. Do not speak to the artist. Artist is best used before expiration date. Objects in the studio may appear closer than they are. Artist is often pantless. Do not poke artist with maul stick. That earlier slide you saw, all the way over here, this is me with a maul stick in my left hand. It's actually a broomstick that I just took the broom part off of. But it works to steady your hand when you're painting. On the easel is Mission to the Mughals, 1636, Mission to the Mughals, by Griffin Barber and Eric Flint. You may know those names. And we will go on to the back part of my studio. And this is that. This is, I have a lot of windows here. I like to have light when I'm working. But in my everyday life, I like things dark. So over on the right is where I store paintings. They're all on a rolling cart. Large paintings I put in corners. There's clipboards around where I draw up my ideas whenever I get them. And you can see my maul stick there again, leaning against there. And in the left corner there is, I think it's 1636 Eastern Front. Eric Flint wrote that. And there's my Futurama trash can. My earlier trash can. In the corner there is a J.C. Leyendecker trash can, an illustrator worth looking up. Now, on to my 1632 covers. Here we go. This is going to be kind of like an analysis of the covers, and you'll get a sense of how I think, how I work, and everything. But a lot of it is the future meeting the past. And that's kind of illustrated there. You have the sepia background and the full color Rubik's Cube. And here we go to the next slide. This is the Chronicles of Dr. Gribbleflotz. And you can see the authors for that there. Now, I wanted to have the title character on the cover, but I also wanted to show all the things that he's done. And I imagine this hawker selling Dr. Gribbleflotz's products on a rolling cart. So here you see Herr Dr. Gribbleflotz painted on the side of the cart. He's into some unusual things, dubious science. The blue pills of happiness are just aspirin dyed blue, and then I've got something titillating in there. And one of the big stories is how he goes about making baking soda. So onward to Grantville Gazette VII. Now these are my analysis, but we're coming up to someone else's in a minute, so get ready for that. This is Grantville Gazette VII. This is a collection of 1632 stories from various authors. I come up with the cover, and the amazing Eric Flint concocts a story to go with it. That could not be cooler. That is so much fun. Anyway, my idea here was, how about a theme restaurant or bar with a bunch of stuff on the walls? And that was just the initial idea. And actually, as I was painting, I said, that stuff could have to do with things, physical objects that you can see that have to do with time travel. So, and here we are in the 17th century. The 20th century people have traveled to that past, and all of the things that they got together in their time can be here and on display. So here we have, of course, the ultimate in time travel, the TARDIS. My favorite, Mr. Peabody, who had his Wayback Machine. I don't know if you're old enough to remember Mr. Peabody and Sherman, but that was a great cartoon. And there's a little bust of Terminator 2. And you see that skateboard there? Well, that was Marty McFly's hoverboard from Back to the Future. And I looked this up to make sure, but Futurama was still on, was on before the turn of the century. So I could include Bender. And there he is, time-traveling Bender. And of course, well, over in the left, you have to see the tiny little model of the time machine from the 1960s movie, the Time Machine. Anyway, by H.G. Wells. And as a compositional device, I put in a town drunk. Every bar has to have a town drunk. And then there are television shows and movies. You've got the Time Tunnel, you've got It's About Time, and of course, Time Bandits. So they're all in there. And then there's a license plate that just happens to have 1632 written on it. And the chew mail pouch thing, that's such a recurring thing in the 1632 series. So I put that in. That was actually one of Eric Flint's suggestions. Going on, this next slide, I didn't do. I came across this on the internet somewhere. I don't know who did it, who put it together. I don't know. But here's the deal. He doesn't know this series. He hasn't read this book. He doesn't know anything. What he's writing here, he's getting from looking at the painting that's on the cover of the book. The statue suggests a battle between past and present. There's conflict in this book. That's what they're there for. The oil painting technique is very evocative. Well, why not? I'll take that compliment. And a blimp in breeches, time warp anyone? Yep, he's getting there. We spy a book titled Analog, Has the Future Found its way into the past? Now, there's some things he didn't know. And I'm going to cover it in my own analysis of this particular cover. This is mine. This again, so you know the book. This is The Ring of Fire 4. It's got stories by David Brin, Charles E. Gannon, Virginia DeMarch, Eric Flint, and of course, the person named Moore. Now, the one thing he couldn't have known is that the magazines in these, every magazine you see facing you, is a cover for a magazine I actually did before the year 2000. And the one in the foreground, the Analog, he thought it was a book, but it's a magazine. He didn't even know that Analog was a science fiction magazine. Anyway, it illustrates a story called Marooned in Real Time by Werner Vinge. And that cover won the ANLAB award for that year. Anyway, so the kids reading fantasy and science fiction, you can tell. You recognize Weird Tales. That little painting on the Weird Tales, by the way, is my living room with my wife reading a book while a monster is on kind of sneaking up behind her. And now, so this tells a story on its own, and hopefully the person is excited enough by it that he's going to want to find out all about it. And of course, airships. Who doesn't like airships? So there's an airship through the window. Now, Cardinal Richelieu shows up in fiction and shows up in history. And this is 1636, the Cardinal Virtues, Eric Flint, Walter H. Hunt. And one of the things that the sort of the cross-mixing of interest and what people like, who knows what's going to happen with history. History can diverge in such strange ways. Anything can throw it off. There's, of course, the famous butterfly effect. But here, Cardinal Richelieu, it turns out his favorite singer is Elvis. So, of course, we've got to have an Elvis lunchbox there. And he's got a hat, a taking care of business hat. And I imagine, just on my own, because I illustrated the Three Musketeers at one time, and I figure he would have my edition of the Three Musketeers. Maybe not, but it's a little in-joke, just, well, for me. In the upper right-hand corner, that's a sketch I did for the Three Musketeers. That's Porthos. Certainly a 17th century person, even as fictional. This next slide is 1637, the Polish Maelstrom. And over there on the left, you see a close-up of the aforementioned cover Eastern Front, or book Eastern Front, my cover for it. And it kind of goes, these Polish hussars are so cool looking with they are wildly flamboyant warriors. And I looked into this, and I found that they sometimes painted their horses colors as well. So I thought, hey, that'll be cool. I'm going to have a painted horse. Some people think that the horse is those colors. Now people are going to have to read the book, find out. Maybe it's not even mentioned in the book, but it was my idea to paint or dye the horse blue. And but I did ask permission before I put a woman as a hussar. I asked Eric, would it be okay? And he said, sure. And the only thing that he said later is I put one too many trucks maybe in the cover. He'll have to figure out how to write around that. Over in the far right is a sketch I did. That was the approved sketch for the cover. Now, 1636, the Ottoman Onslaught, Eric Flint. Now, you're seeing airships in a few of these, and people say, do you have to put airships in everything? I won't if it's not in the story. But airships are a very useful and underrated technology. And it makes sense to me that they would be part of the 1632 series, because it's going to be one of the better ways to get around. And there are no power lines to get in the way, which is great for ballooning and airships and anything that might have to fight against the wind or fly low. Why a flamethrower? There's a religious reason behind that. You're going to have to read the book to find out. Now, if you're walking, then maybe you see the cover somewhere or advertised or whatever. That flame may be the first thing to attract your eye, but then it leads right down to this strange looking tank that is pretty much me having fun with, again, merging the past with the future. There's another version of it, sketch I did. And if the word onslaught is in the title of the book, it has to be on the cover. So this is an onslaught. Oh, in the lower left, that's one of the ideas that wasn't picked for it. This is them outside the castle, or the walls, and the city walls, and they're attacking. But here we have them having broken through instead on the cover. Now, every now and then I come up with an idea that either the authors have come up with already on their own, and I think that I've come up with a new idea, or I come up with an actual new idea, and it kind of makes its way into the 1632 stories. And that may be the case here. But I thought it would be neat if they painted those art. This is another one of those covers where I come up with the idea and Eric Flint writes a story around it. And there's a collection of stories in here, various authors writing in the 1632 universe, which is so cool that all these people come together and come up with all these wild and amazing ideas of how the future and the past interact, meld, create new ideas altogether. And so I have an artist. He's painting nose art on here. Of course, he's a 17th century artist. He's got to look the part. So I have him looking very much the part. And he's done his research to some degree. He's got some Uptime books of nose art, and he studied them. And and by the way, I didn't make up this airplane. It's based on schematics sent to me by Eric. I don't know who did these, but this is the design for airplanes in this past, using the best they can of the technological know-how of the 20th century. And after I did this, they contacted me and said, will you paint just the nose art? So I did this, and they turned it into an actual metal plate of the Steady Girl. And that's my design, finished design on the left. On the right is just the painting part of it. Coming next, 1636, the Viennese Waltz. Eric Flint, Paula Goodlett, and George Huff. This, I just love the idea of the future just sort of shooting right through the past, just engines gunning, a race going on. The citizens, at least surprised, perhaps terrified of this. And of course, I have as much 17th century architecture in this to set the period. I have a woman racing to a window to see what the ruckus is. I have an Uptime automobile, something that maybe someone made within the 17th century using Uptime technology. And of course, something timeless, which is dogs chasing vehicles. And over in the lower right, you see a sketch that wasn't chosen of an actual racetrack. But I think it's best to have them just terrorizing the neighborhood instead, more evocative. Now, this next slide is another Grantville Gazette cover. This hasn't hit the stands yet. Maybe you're seeing it for the first time. And again, this is what I do these a lot. I love doing this with Eric, so maybe these are predominant in the slideshow. I apologize for that. But this is taking place during Halloween. A holiday, I guess, has become popular in this time period now. You have the jack-o'-lantern, there's your hint. And there's an uptime person, Carolyn. She's dressed as a cowgirl, and she's neatening the costume of Princess Christina, and she's dressed as Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes. His friends, or her friends, she's a she. Her friends over in the right-hand corner are dressed as uptime Halloween costumes as a spaceman, and I guess that's something called Star Wars, that glowing sword thing. And the central character here is, of course, Thomas Hobbes, the philosopher. And he doesn't seem to be too happy to be dressed as the Tiger Hobbes from Calvin and Hobbes. But there you have Princess Christina dressed as Calvin and Hobbes dressed as Hobbes, and he carries Leviathan for Dummies. And there's a Leviathan on the cover. Now, let's watch me do a painting. That's what's coming next. Here we go. This is how crazy a painting looks in the beginning. I like to start in a chaotic manner. I like to throw things around, and I might change things. You'll notice that things will change as this goes. I don't feel like I have to stick to any particular idea. If a better one comes along, or I find out, or in my research I find out something historical, this doesn't look like it's going to turn out very good, does it? But it gets better. I change costumes some, I change hats, I change gestures, I'm sneaking in new objects. Things are beginning to come into focus. There we go. It's in more detail there. We've got the writing on the game of life. We've got Monopoly back there. Or is it Monopoly? The whole name of the game isn't there. And then there's a Frisbee. And I think this may be the cover. Yeah, here we go. This is how the cover looked without type. This is another Grantville Gazette VII. I can get those confused sometimes. I should have written it down on this. Anyway, you saw this earlier as a sepia, and I kept the a Rubik's Cube in color. But here it is in full color, everything in full color, and all little details. Obviously, 17th century, they didn't have baseball bats. They didn't have gloves. They didn't have balls. They didn't have Barbie dolls. They didn't have stuff redheaded. They didn't have gnomes on their lawn. They didn't have board games that they played or frisbees. So here they are with a package of stuff. Now, I can do what I want with my covers. I can do anything. I can turn them into anything. And for Christmas, sometimes I like to have a little fun. And so I turned this cover into a totally different cover for a totally different book. As a Christmas card, a fake book Christmas card. And I came up with a fake book company called Mooncat Books. They don't exist. And the book is by a guy named Nicholas Saint, and it's called The Kringle Conundrum. You can read it right there. You can see it. But you should... Oh, in the lower left-hand corner is a copy of my book, how-to book, Other Worlds, which is out of print. You can't get it. Sorry. Sold out. Gone. And then a book, another how-to book on how to paint and draw dragons in the lower right-hand corner. Of course, there's a Christmas tree back there. And you'll notice how I've aged the corners of the book. And the little blurb on the bottom says, "This book will slay you." Note the spelling. You better watch out. It's coming to town. The Reindeer Gazette. Now, again, maybe I have too much fun. Or at least what I consider fun. And this is what the inside of the card says. What are the critics saying about the Kringle Conundrum? It's mesmerizing, suspense-filled, compelling, riveting, blood-curdling, and festive. Merry Christmas, and may your new year be filled with many bestsellers. So, I think this is the final slide coming up. These are the two newest covers I've done for the 1632 series. On the left is Dr. Gribbleflotz and the Soul of Stoner, Karen Oford and Rick Boatwright. And then on the right is Peacock Throne, Eric Flint, and Griffin Barber. I love the Gribbleflotz stories. They're always a lot of fun. There's always sort of a wink in a way when you read them. They can be serious and you're laughing at them at the same time. Now, but the Peacock Throne, action-packed, adventure, fighting. There's a Peacock Throne back there. There's some of the main characters. Of course, we've got the uptime guy. We've got 2 downtime ladies, and they're ready to go. Now, that's about it, folks. Thank you very much for letting me show you this slideshow. I don't know if I should have made it longer or shorter or not had any sound to it at all. But it's now done, and thank you again, and goodbye.